The act is anything's activity, its sequential history, and how frequently it changes in its environment. In context to the individual, it's all about what they do in the world of motions, the world of procedures, gestures, and happenings. And the individual constantly engaging in this world would be what I like to call act-driven. The first aspect we have is causality: sequence, repetition, history, order, and conduct. This aspect reflects cause, effect, and their ongoing reoccurrence. One can imagine the drawing of a shape. Every corner turned is the completion of a step. If it ever returns to its starting position, then it may be considered to be concluded. And if it doesn't seem to ever change as it repeats, then, as far as causality is concerned, it may be considered to be a law. Causality encapsulates the ongoing endurance of things and the cycles that enable it. And those favoring it often have a strong affinity for procedures, rule sets, laws, and series of events. Upon witnessing a new, often irregular or abnormal, dynamic system or motion, there's an immediate compulsion to understand its workings, its various cycles and sequences of progression, as if it were a puzzle to solve. And if it was particularly enjoyable, they'll engage in the process of solving it again and again for the sake of improvement and the joy of a well-established mechanical process. Such people generally tend towards severe and persistent stubbornness, have a tendency towards radical skepticism and reductive linear thinking, and often impose and project their moralistic standards and personal capacities upon others. For example, I can do this, so I don't know what's stopping you from doing it. But in this, they're industrious and methodical, with any work they set out to complete being exceedingly thorough and refined. They uphold a severe and often inflexible set of internal standards and principles, and will often without fail push the standards of whatever procedural system they enter into to new heights. Next is evolution: doing, animation, potential, novelty, and progression. This aspect reflects fluctuation, spontaneity, and deviation, be it from oneself or within their environment. If causality is the repetition of happenings, evolution drives it forward to begin with. One can imagine a shape being drawn, but before making that final upward motion that would conclude it, the line radically shuffles around before it finally moves up to complete the loop. No matter how chaotic it seems, a causal cycle has just been completed. It just had to find its own way. The things that are moving, morphing, flickering, and twitching the most in one's environment, or, at the very least, hold significant potential to do these things, are what best characterize evolution. And generally, those favoring evolution will seek out such devices. Such individuals generally tend to be hyperactive, have a rapidly shifting attention, all while being able to keep track of everything that's happening, and a sharp impulsivity brought about by impatience and/or boredom, enabling spur-of-the-moment activities or projects that may ultimately be abandoned or yield unfavorable results. But in this, they have unparalleled amounts of energy, a wide capacity of focus, and are usually radically decisive. All are utilized to generate a diverse range of productions. They remain in motion, in constant pursuit of the future, ready to usher it forth into the world. And lastly, we have judgment, differences between acts, gauging behaviors and what they entail. It's the awareness of causality and evolution, often leaning towards one or the other, to differentiate the two. Leaning towards evolution is noticing any given thing's current immediate actions and how they could transform over time. They're prone to point out the many ways something can start, occur, or change. Possibilities are identified as they arise, often being ideals that have the potential to be enacted, naturally, surrounding the domain of ethics. By contrast, any surrounding immobility, stagnation, and/or errant deviant behavior will be highlighted as something to change. The highlighted actions are usually subsequently pushed toward action, converted to fuel the ideal's enactment, or pushed away, destroyed to let these potentials flourish. Leaning towards causality is noticing the history of definitive results and conclusions from a given set of actions, provided they've been concluded before. They often point out how a choice or event will end, either by stating the conclusion and/or responding to the sheer absurdity or stupidity of the choice or statement. The process of elimination is persistent in their manner of thought, especially as events continue to unfold. And by the end of it all, only one option remains, the one that was bound to happen from the start, the inevitable. Erroneous conclusions are quickly found in all manners of strategic systems, formal logic structures, and technical schemes. And once found, the entirety of the structure is either aided by their compulsion towards correction or dismissed as entirely ineffective. Everyone uses all three aspects in their day-to-day lives, but they do seem more pronounced in some more than others. There's far more that can be said about each aspect, how they manifest in each person, how they affect society, and even how they seem to permeate one's environment, affecting their very being as well as their development. But for now, this is where the act ends, and it's only a mere sample of what is to come.